Go take a look at the garden, you guys. And all of our chicken friends are doing. Right, Duck? Want to go check out the garden with me? Hey guys, welcome to Condo to Cottage. So today is July 7th. It's hard keeping track of the days sometimes. And I'm a day late with my garden tour, but I actually wanted to redo this video because I learned some things in the last 24 hours about my garden that I wanted to share instead of prematurely putting the video up. So take a look at this garden. I can't even believe it. Sometimes I forget how fast these things grow, and honestly, I know I've said it a billion times, but this is why I do these videos, because I can look back at, May, and when I was so frustrated with the frost and everything happening, Mother's Day, there was frost after Mother's Day, and I was so worried, and look at that garden. So it's really good for me to be able to look back and see the progress that we've made despite, some scary times there. So some other things that we have been facing this past week have been those really hot days in the summer where it's hot all day and humid, and then you get those big storms in the afternoons and evenings. So then we've had 2 weeks of that, 3 weeks of that, feels like. And the biggest problem for me with that is the watering. So when you have one of those really quick pop-up storms, when you have big foliage with like the squash plants and even those tomatoes, and it pours rain for a good 5 minutes, if you actually check underneath, the soil is not wet. So it's this tough thing of knowing when to water, and sometimes even when it rains you still have to water, and that's still a struggle for me. I like to conserve water. We have well water, so it's okay in general, but still I like to conserve water, and when it's that pouring rain and then you have to still go outside and water, it does feel a little bit weird. But if you have to even just touch the soil and see, and a lot of these vegetables, the squash, the cucumbers, they want a good watering, and the tomatoes do too, but with some time in between. So that's been something that we've been battling here, is just kind of figuring out the weather, looking at the forecast, deciding whether the pop-up storms are actually going to happen or not, and if they do, if it's enough rain, or if you still have to water. I did fertilize this week, and I also did a preparation of neem oil, which I can put the link down below for the product that I got. You just want to make sure that it has the active ingredient that neem oil should have in it. If it's neem oil extract, that's not going to work. So that's supposed to help with some bugs and some pests, which we definitely have. Some spotted lanternflies that are all over my cucumbers, and our kale has kind of been decimated by those cabbage loopers and cabbage worms. The neem oil seemed to help for a few days, and they're back. So I think I'm actually going to rip my kale out, at least in the one part of my garden bed I'll show you, and plant some different things there. Some lettuces, because it's a shady part, because it gets to a point where there's not really a point in fighting those pests if it's like a leafy green like kale, if they're chewing every piece of kale, and I have healthy kale somewhere else. So I don't know, we're gonna see what happens, play it by ear. So let's take a look in the garden. All right, so you can see here this big pile of debris is one of the things I wanted to talk about. So I went through, and I'm gonna put that into like a burn pile. I went through and pruned a bunch of my tomatoes and zucchini, and I still have so much to do. You coming, Lulu? Okay. So that's one of the reasons I really wanted to redo this video, because I just kind of did that today, and I think it's really important to talk about. So if we start over here at this end, that's where I usually start. First of all, this is supposed to be my kale patch, but these rogue tomatoes have totally taken over. And I think it's probably just going to be the tomato. These are cherry tomatoes. See the way that they grow? These are from seeds that must have just planted here from last year in this soil. But Wow, there's actually a lot of blossoms on there today. So I'm probably going to wind up taking this kale up I mean, these ones here, the first 3, they're okay, but there's actually a bunch underneath that I think are just not going to make it. That's okay. To everything there's a season, right? And even in here, I have baby tomatoes. Like there's one there, one there. It's just insane. This whole area just wanted to be a tomato patch, and I guess it was my fault trying to fight it. So then the other thing I wanted to say, so I have, this is so crazy to see in the camera, tomatoes, so a little bit of kale, tomatoes, beans, green beans, and patty pan squash. Clearly the green beans, I should have given them a totally different location. I'm learning with this new garden bed where to plant things. It's very different than container gardening, where I can move things around, you know, and this is my first year in this garden bed. So, you know, you live and you learn, but these beans definitely need more room. I'm going to kind of defoliate some of them a little bit. If you start getting dead flowers or dead parts of the plant, you want to pull those out, because that's a sign of disease, and I don't want that disease on my plants. So the problem here is they're just not getting enough sunlight. So there's more dead stuff down there I'll have to get. So this is a Blue Lake bush bean, and I must say that there's another variety of bush bean that I really like that did not grow well this year for me, which is dragon tongue bush beans. And they're so much easier to see because they're a different color. These are really good, but look, the color, when you like are looking down to see if you have beans that are grown, they blend right in, like with those stems. The color of that bean it matches perfectly with the color of the stem. So we've harvested a bunch, and sometimes like this morning I came in here and there was a bean that was like that long because I just hadn't seen it. So, you know, it is a little tricky. Like these ones down here. Like this one is a good size. I'm going to pull him. I literally was just in that spot this morning and didn't see him. So, so that's one. I do like the other variety better. So next year I'll make a note for myself. Okay, so this zucchini, insane. I'm actually going to come down here. Anytime I see leaves overlapping, I'm going to start pruning because it can cause a lot of issues. And I'm going to post a link to one of my favorite gardening channels is M.I. Gardener. Super informative. And I literally just saw a video about pruning zucchini leaves, and I was like, oh my God, that's what I need to do. So and he basically said anytime you have overlapping leaves and you start to see what could be powdery mildew or kind of just like they just start curling up and dying, like down there, that yellow one, that's no good. I need to get that out. And so anytime I see overlapping leaves, I'm going to wind up coming in and pruning them out. So that is something, if you are growing zucchini, to make sure you do. He also said, and in the video I shot yesterday, I was like, oh my God, it's like he watched it and I didn't even post it. Because what I had happening, let me see if I can actually, oh, see, this is what happens when I get distracted. I left the gate open. Miss Raptor, that kale, you've already like killed it. Would you mind giving it a day perhaps? So in this burn pile, I have from this zucchini here, I actually don't know what kind of squash this is because it looks very different than my other squash. So I don't know what it is. I thought it was Ronde Denise, but clearly this is different than that shape. And that I know is Ronde Denise. So I think this is a pumpkin of some sort, but not sure. But what happened with it was it looked really good. Looked like that. And then the flower started to die and then it fell off. And that is blossom end rot. And apparently when that happens on squash, it's probably because the pollinators can't even get in here to get to the flowers. So that fruit developed on the female flower and they just never even got in here to pollinate it. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to prune so that I can get rid of some of the leaves because I want to, get some good squash on here and I need the bees to help me do that. But I do have some good squash for me. These are those patty pan squash, the yellow scallop squash, and they are super cool. I don't know if you can see that guy all the way in the back there, but really neat looking. Seth was out here this morning with me. He's like, what are these? They look like UFOs, and that's exactly what they look like. But they're super cute. Look, even in here, there are tomato plants. Like, they are just everywhere. Just everywhere. Just kind of like my chickens. They're just everywhere. So, yeah, I'm going to make sure I take care of that with my squash, and I highly suggest you do it as well, because I think it's going to just overall help the production of those plants. So, here are the cucumbers, this cucumber row. The squash leaves blend right in with them, but they're doing really well. I just picked 2 off of them. With cucumbers, you want to pick often, and you want to make sure that it basically encourages the plant to produce more. So I look up the length of the normal fruit size, and as soon as it gets close to that, I pick. And you cucumbers, oh my gosh, I'm just standing here and look. They blend in so well. It's like magic. Oh, I think a stink bug just landed on me. So I have one back here, but oh my goodness, I can't even get to that guy. But there is a large cucumber back there that I need to harvest behind the... Do you see him? I lost him. There he is. So this is what happens with cucumbers. I need scissors to really do this, but I don't have them out with me. So, goodness, cucumbers do that. So you got to stay on top of them, and you got to really like monitor every single day. They're better to pick in the morning, but I wanted to get that guy out of there. So look at the pollinator, little bee. Hi, Beb. Doing a good job. Ted's interested in something. Is it the kale, Ted? You want kale? What is it, bud? What is it, boy? Anyhow, he's not going to tell me. Here's another little pollinator on my allium flower. Little honeybee. Beautiful. So that's a good sign. They are seeing the flowers. You know it's not a good sign? This guy right there. I don't know if you can see him. Oh, they always hide when I go to show them. It's like they are camera shy, which is odd for an insect. They are nymphs of the spotted lanternfly, which is super invasive in the area that I live in. They just came around last year to us. The first time I saw them was last year. So first of all, I want to get rid of them because they're invasive to the area and can do a lot of pest damage. And second of all, I think that they might be eating some of my cucumber stuff. And I'm not happy about that. So I want to figure out a way to get rid of them. So does anybody have a way that they know of to get rid of the dreaded spotted lanternfly? A way that is actually effective, because I did the neem oil, did the, what else did I do? I dusted them. I'm going to maybe dust them again. That would probably help. The diatomaceous earth or the dusting might just help them a little bit. It's tough though when you've got rain all the time. Take a look at this. I've got like mold or something growing on these strawberries. They are not looking so hot. Whereas this one now has a little second mini harvest. So not sure what's going on there. But anyway, that's the cucumbers. Those are the squash. Those eggplants that I transferred, I have one there, one here. Very encouraged to see new healthy growth. So those old leaves are going to die off and I'll pick them out. Same thing here, much healthier. Look at the difference in the color. So I'm going to pick those off now actually. So that's a good sign that those are going to give a second harvest after the first ones on the other side of the garden. Guys, I planted a ground cherry, but I've never grown one before. I have no idea if that's a ground cherry. I don't know what it is. It could be a weed. I know those are weeds. I have to come out here and weed. But yeah, so that could be a ground cherry, which would be really exciting. Take a look at this lettuce. I just picked some over the weekend for a July 4th salad we had. I picked some yesterday for some salad for lunch, but they are definitely on their way out. So what I'm actually planning on doing is over in that patch is where my kale is that's being attacked by those cabbage worms. That's that dino kale, and they're much more susceptible, it seems, than the curly kale. I'm going to plant some lettuce in there. So yeah, this lettuce, take a look here. It's going to flower. So I'm going to actually let it go to flower so then I can harvest the seeds. So I've been watching some videos on how to do that, and doesn't seem too bad. So I'm going to give it a shot. I did plant some Swiss chard here. So I do have some Swiss chard that's going to grow up. Not a lot of the seeds took, I think, because the rain pushed the mulch back into my little trough there. But that's okay. Well, I can work with that, so that we can get leafy greens throughout the rest of the season. I wanted to show these beautiful flowers. Aren't those neat? I'll have to put the name on the screen. I can't remember offhand. They are really cool. They were something I actually planted in this little bed in this little container with some mums, or marigolds, I mean. But they're really, really pretty. They just popped open this week. Beets have been awesome. So, I mean, this is late, way later than I thought that we would be picking beets. And some of them are still really tiny, but the ones that we've pulled out of here, I mean, they're really good. They're sweet. They don't even have that like earthy, they have that earthy flavor, but not nearly as much as other beets I've had. So I will definitely be getting these two varieties again. This is a Detroit Red and Early Wonder, and they are really, really good. I got those from Baker Creek Rare Seeds. They're so good. Let me see if I can get a good one. They're so yummy and sweet that I actually really enjoy them in a salad. And I haven't even been using the greens. And then some kale. Check out the carrot flowers. They're so pretty. They're just like that Queen Anne's lace, and they're just really gorgeous. And anytime you get the, I can't remember what it's called, but like that flat arrangement of flowers like that, it's almost like a little umbrella. It's apparently very, very good for the pollinators. So any kind of flower that has that arrangement, keep it around. The carrots behind, those are actually still getting some good carrots out of there too. A good sized carrot. Look at that. So that guy wasn't to flower yet. I try and pick ones that are not going to be going to flower. Getting lots of little cute baby tomatoes on here. This row is looking healthy. Check out this guy. That's pretty big. That's exciting. Wow. And they look pretty healthy. I did pull out some yellow leaves from down there on the bottom, but that's okay. We're making up for it. And then these are those Magnolia Sugar Snap Peas, and they're pretty much done. I mean, this guy didn't even finish growing, but they're all brown and drying up, so I'm probably just going to pick those guys. You know, look at that spider web. I don't know if you can see that in the light. They did okay. I got, literally like 2 handfuls of sugar snap peas. Not the best, but next year I'm going to plant them earlier, and maybe they'll do a little bit better. So this tomato patch, I definitely tried to come in and prune out from the bottom. I still have a lot more on the other side I need to get. I do have some blushing tomatoes, which is exciting. But Ted, you want to get out, buddy? So I want to really make sure I get some airflow because these are so densely packed in here, you need to get as much airflow down there as possible. So that means getting out a lot of those leaves towards the bottom. And it's okay. You can prune tomatoes. They're not going to die if you prune them. If you really went to town and over pruned them, that you might do some damage, but they don't mind the pruning, and it's actually better for the plant. So do it. And this lettuce is also on its way out. So let me show you the little spot where I'm going to put the lettuce. So over here, this is the kale, not doing so hot. And that is the shadiest part of the garden. Like, this part is the last part to get shade or to get sun. So I'm going to just plant some lettuce there and see what happens. Again, it's barely costing me anything because those seeds there's so many in a pack because lettuce seeds are ridiculously tiny. So I might as well. This is called a blanket flower, I believe. Super pretty. I had it planted somewhere else, but I'm really happy I moved it because we're doing something different in that area it was. And it's really nice in the garden. So here are those squash plants that I'm going to try and get a little bit more of the flower or the leaves out of here. Sign of a chipmunk. No bueno. That's not good. I can see them running in and out of my garden every day, stealing my food right out from underneath me. This is that Ronde Denise squash. Again here, I'm not getting a lot of action, so I'm gonna try and prune it down so more pollinators can find their way in. These are some slicer tomatoes. These plants are taller than me. They are probably about 6 feet tall. I pruned, I've staked, but it's still pretty much a jungle in there. So probably not the best airflow, but lots of little baby tomatoes happening. So that's exciting. See, and I have different varieties in here. So I planted Dr. Witchy's, I believe, which is a yellow. I planted Creole and Paul Robeson. So it could be any of these ones because I don't even know which ones I planted. Story of my life, right? Here's another one of those Ronde Denise. And this one, for sure, check out the fruit that's like rotting back there. That's not good. So definitely going to come in here and start pruning those up a bit. If you start seeing your fruit do that, prune it. Prune the plant and get the rotting fruit out of there for sure. So these tomatoes are doing well on this branch. Did more pruning. Got to tie this guy up. But this little melon here is all, I mean, I have this guy's doing the best. Lots of flowers. No idea which kind of melon it is, but I've got flowers and it's pretty tall. So my goal, guys, is to get literally one melon out of this this year because it's just so overcrowded by tomatoes. But you can see I pruned down a lot, and so you can actually see through the bottom there, and that's, I think, going to help a lot with airflow. So those tomatoes there, marigolds, my eggplants have their flowers. They're pretty neat looking. They're weird looking, actually. So excited about the little flowers. Get some eggplants out of there. This basil, we've been putting it in salads. It's so good. I think I'm going to harvest it for some purple basil pesto, which, oh, just smelling it, I'm hungry. Two more eggplants, and then the peppers. It's so crazy how this part of the garden is spaced out so much better than my other parts of my garden. But these peppers, I have all different sizes, and they're so cute, the little baby peppers. They look like little street lamps. I do have a few that are, I'm trying to find ones. Some of these, this is happening, which seems like the same kind of thing as what we just talked about. So, I'm not gonna, here we go. Look at that baby pepper. Oh, I'm so excited. Yay, there's another one. The craziness of the pepper year, I'm just thrilled that I have baby peppers at all. So the other thing I wanted to show you guys was that part of the garden over there. So hold on. Okay, don't mind me now. I'm legitimately sweating because the sun came out. It was cloudy. Whew. All right, so first let me show you something. Check out these zinnias. They are so stinking pretty. I just love them. They're like the most cheerful flower. And you can see the garden from this side. It's like, that's why I have the chair there, because it is just like blowing out of the side. See more yellowing leaves down here? I'm gonna come in and take care of those. And those tomatoes look pretty good. So this part of the garden that I'm going to show you, last year, this was like where my entire garden was. So over here was in the front, and I had 2 trellises and a ton of containers, and they did so well. I don't know what changed this year, but they are struggling. Sorry, my hair. They are struggling, and I tried fertilizing. I tried all sorts of, the neem oil. I tried dusting, and they're struggling. So I might not get my cherry tomatoes this year. This is where I wanted my cherry tomatoes to be, and they might just not happen, and it sucks, but I think what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to leave the tomatoes in here that are doing okay, but some of them, if they're bad, I'm just going to rip them out, or I'm just going to plant beans. like pole beans, I'm going to plant them this week in the soil next to the tomatoes that are not doing so well. So at least I have something in this space that's thriving, because otherwise it just seems like a waste of space and I'm not getting food production out of it, which is what this is mostly all about. So let me show you what's going on here. So yeah, just a lot of sad, dead looking plants. You know, magnolia, sugar snap peas. This one's actually looking okay. A lot of these were actually the rogue transplant ones that I moved. Like this one that looks absolutely awful was one I actually wanted to plant. Like I grew from seed in the house. Same here. This is doing okay though, not so bad. This is called Brad's Atomic Grapes, and they're a cherry tomato. So at least I've got something going on. But I mean, just look at the, it's not good. You know, I'm not, blueberry cream tomatoes, they're all really cool varieties of cherry tomato, and they're just struggling to survive over here. So, you know, it is what it is. I'm not really sure why that is, but it is. And let's see what these chickens are doing over here, destroying the volunteer tomato patch, I'm assuming. Ladies, what you doing? So the other big development, look at this baby. So that's one of our COVID babies. We got her around March 11th. So she's looking pretty good. She's actually really pretty. You can't tell, but she's got like an iridescent feather. So, hey Raptor, could you not, girl, can you like not sit on my tomatoes? Thanks. Can we keep something sacred around here? Goodness. All right, you guys. Well, that is a wrap on this week's garden tour. I did want to show you before I go in. I'm sweating. Over on the other side, don't mind all of the weeds. It's insane. Pretty azalea. There's 1, 2, and another big tomato plant that are just rogue growing along my driveway. This actually happened last year with a basil plant. And it was actually cool because we had double the amount of basil that we planned on. But the tomatoes in the bedrock, or the river rock, that's a new one. But tomatoes just seem to really want to be with me this year. So I guess I just need to accept it and, you know, take advantage of the situation. All right, you guys, I'm going to go check out what Lulu's barking at. But I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. Enjoy your garden. It's not too late to plant seeds. I'm going to go plant some lettuce and beans tomorrow morning. So you might as well too. You know, you can order seeds on Amazon. By the time they come in, you'll still get a harvest. Order things that have, you know, that the harvest date says between 40 and 50 days. You're still good. You still got time. You can even do longer than that. So there's no excuse. All right, you guys, have a wonderful day. You can like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.